Hi Star Seeds, how are you? Welcome back to our third episode already of Benefac TOR. I'm Tory, I'm your host, so thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't been listening to the show for the other episodes, welcome. And if you guys like the content, please like and subscribe. That would really be helpful and meaningful to me. Thank you so much. And all these causes that get showcased. So the point of my show, just like the title implies, is to be a do-gooder for others. I really believe in the world being a good place and that the other people that are doing good things in this life, the entrepreneurs, the people with wonderful ideas and great purpose, get shout outs and get recognized and hopefully get more business and, prosper from everything. So that's how the world works, right? Sometimes it takes one person to make a huge difference, one person to notice, one person to give a referral. So I know when I had my business in Pennsylvania, I had this one customer. His name was Chris Jones. And if you're listening, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's an angel investor. He was on Planet of the Apps. He owns LSEO and Pepper Jam. He used to refer everyone to me, and sometimes I don't think I would have stayed afloat if it wasn't for him. So the power of people, So anyway, that's the point of the show. I've got a lot of meat today. We're going to do a little tarot, talk a little bit of energy. The moon today is in Sagittarius, my fellow fire sign as a Leo. Sagittarius's ruling planet is Jupiter. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So today probably things are growing. It's a day of growth. It's Saturday, so ruled by the Archangel Sandalphon. I'm a Saturday baby. Kind of interesting stuff. All of our days are probably blending together right now. We're like, is it Monday? Is it Saturday? I know. Another thing is with the censorship now, and also not wanting to give any more energy or validity to what's going on now. I'm probably not going to say CV or anything like that, but hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay? I want to start with a quote, guys. So, and I want you to be able to see my shirt here. This is Cult of Individuality, and this is Uncut Art. It says Queen Me, and he just did new hats. You got to check it out. But I digress. Okay. So the quote I loved today, which I think is going to be pertinent to what I'm going to be talking about. I think when you know better, you can do better, but you can't do better until then, right? So hopefully this isn't going to be Debbie Downer. That's not my style, but I'm going to give you a lot of serious facts, right? Or my truth, and let you sift through, because you know what? Let me tell you, if it doesn't resonate with you, no problem. But at least you can be on the offensive instead of the defensive, which is, a stronger position, right? And we always know what's ours because we have our own internal barometer. So whatever I say is mine. You know what I mean? And if it enlightens you in some way or is helpful in some way, keep it. If not, don't worry. Okay. So the quote is, "Life without knowledge is death in disguise." And that's by Talib Kweli. Love that quote. So I think right away, I want to start out with my shout outs. I already kind of did my shirt and my hat. Uncut Art on Instagram for the hat. Uncaso and Protect Your Heart. Has a dream to do a Protect Your Heart Day, which is going to be April 23rd. He does it in several major cities nationwide: LA, Miami, Philly, I believe Houston. But it's a day where, so many good things happen. He focuses on the earth. He focuses on us being, more soul than human, which I know I can relate to hugely. And to protect our heart, because all things come from it. So amazing messages. You really have to check him out. He's a very prophetic speaker. He does a lot of lives, phenomenal artist. So anyway, this hat is him. Okay. Somebody that was pulling at my heartstrings today. I'm an animal lover. I can't help it. And I think that, you know, we're responsible for them. So they can't help themselves. So here are people like me. There's a dog named KONA who was in a horrible abuse situation, and New York Bully Crew is trying to get this dog out of Mexico. I couldn't even watch some of what they were showing, what she went through. I just know she needs help. And these people do so much good. Please, 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 I beg of you, if I ever did anything to help you and you want to repay me in some way, help this dog, please. Because you can donate through PayPal at New York Bully, as in Pitbull, Bully Crew at gmail.com. You can text NY, B as in boy, C as in cat, to the number 41444 and just note KONA, like coffee, KONA. Or through Venmo, you can do at Bully Crew, all one word, and note KONA. And please donate to her, please. The other organization who works with animals is Friends of the Forlorn. So www.friendsoftheforlorn, FORLORN, .org. Also on Instagram, they're F as in Frank, TT, Pitbull. These guys need donations too, you know, so the more things happen with the economy, the more people are surrendering their pets. So the shelters and needs for fosters is rising as everything else is kind of plummeting. I know too that the New York Bully Crew will take dogs with cleft palates and dogs with handicaps that breeders put down. So they will rehabilitate the dog and get it adopted and have this wonderful knack for helping these animals that other people perceive to have issues. So please, please help these guys. The other organization that I love from Daniel Pewter, he started MLMPIPA.org. They're schools. And they're not normal curriculum like the indoctrination in the public school system. He does so many good things for his students and their families, feeds them, helps them have culinary experiences, etiquette, really preparedness for the real world, and to not be followers, to be leaders. So important in this life, to not be another worker bee. You know, to have a voice, to have an opinion, and to know the real deal with things. So please check out that organization. It's so phenomenal. Specifically, the location in Oakland Park here in Florida and Fort Lauderdale. Check it out. If your child is interested, see if they can enroll, because they're going to get like one heck of a magnificent experience and be just like enlivened. Okay. Another one, Stand Up for Pits Foundation, and that's on Instagram. That's at, all one word, Stand Up for Pits, P-I-T-S, Foundation. There are 2 dogs that a mother wrote in to the foundation. I was reading about it this morning. She lost her daughter. And her daughter was the human, the mom, to 2 pit bulls that she can't take because she has 4 little dogs. So she's trying to get these dogs adopted together because her daughter had them together and they deserve to stay together. So if you can adopt or help in any way, even if you can repost it or something, you know, this story to help these dogs get visibility, that's wonderful. That's kind of what I'm hoping to do, right? Just get visibility to these situations that really need it. Okay. And those dogs are in Maryland, by the way. So if you're in that vicinity, wonderful. So I guess I really want to talk today about the current circumstance. And again, I'm not going to try to give it a name and give it any more power or any more of my energy or add that to make it real in the collective consciousness, because that's not what I believe. So having said that, you know, I don't know if you guys are thinking the same thing, but like there's no universal definition for this CV, right? The actual cases of death don't seem to be clear. So like, I'm just pointing out like inconsistencies. The Vital Records database or data bank said, and this is a quote, that deaths can be assumptions and educated guesses that go unquestioned. And I think that was actually a quote from, her name is Dr. Annie Budacek, MD. She's an internal medicine specialist. But I'll go more into some things that she was saying, but she really gave me an education on how death certificates are recorded, which are assumptions and educated guesses that go totally unquestioned. Okay, so the CDC is saying that mortality includes confirmed and presumptive cases. So it's true and speculative. And the thing is, we're all, unwillingly kind of taking part in this pandemic, but these numbers are totally overestimated. And they're not even hiding it. Like, this is like off the CDC website. So, and what these doctors are directed to do to record death certificates, which is, I'm flabbergasted, So I'm not understanding, I guess, and if you understand, like, please leave me comments. But if this is a pandemic, right, there would be the normal level of deaths in America, and then there would be these additional deaths on top of it, which would have this elevated level, qualifying it as a pandemic, okay? The deaths stayed more or less the same, so I'm not sure how this is being justified and why we're going through all these hoops wearing masks. In Philadelphia, where I'm from, they just made it mandatory to go in public. So if you have to go to the grocery store, the pharmacy, or wherever you have to go to get, a necessary item, you have to wear a mask. And I'm like vehemently against wearing these masks because to me, it's saying like I'm complying with this communism, basically, right? Everything that's against our Constitution. I mean, it's kind of incredible. So the other question that this brings up, the definition that I read you before, the CDC is saying mortality includes confirmed and presumptive cases of this virus. And then I'll go into this virus. Most people have multiple health conditions. It's being found that it's being determined somehow that they have it. So here's clear, this is again based on Dr. Annie Budacek. So clear reasons for death, right? Something that would be like pretty clear to someone on the death certificate to the doctor. She is saying would be sepsis, asthma, aneurysm, metastatic cancer, stroke, traumatic brain injury like from an accident, or acute heart attack. So say somebody has, already like a heart condition, and then they were also having like a respiratory issue, and they're going in the ambulance and they die before they get to the hospital. How do you determine what the cause of death is? Well, right now, what's going to go on the death certificate is going to be CV. So I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. That's how these numbers are getting skewed. They're being played with, and what's qualifying is not actually this virus that doesn't really exist. And how did China all of a sudden bounce back? Because they went back to reporting numbers normally after skewing them. So okay. So Dr. Annie Budacek, who is this MD and internal medicine specialist, she was saying that people, if people are dying before analysis or evaluation can occur, it's inaccurate, obviously, right, to record their death as a virus, first of all, and you can't label it, second of all. She even gave an example. So here's the percentages of death, like where they occur typically, right? Like 60% about occur in a hospital. So you'll have the methods to, determine most likely what it was from. But again, most people have several causal factors that are feeding into why their body actually stopped. But you can have a better guess. And the way that she's painting it, as a doctor herself for 34 years, by the way, she's saying it's people's best guess. So it's 60% at a hospital, about 20% of people pass at home, and about 20% in a nursing home. So why is this all important to know? It's important to know because it's affecting our constitutional rights. I mean, I'm not sure if it gets any more serious than that, other than, which would be included, affecting our own rights to our own physical body and health, which it is. So on death certificates, what's being recorded? What's being recorded and stated, and this verbiage is important, is that the person had respiratory issues and, acute heart issue and sepsis, but they were COVID positive. Okay, so note what they're not saying. They're not saying that the death was from CV. They're just saying, additionally, this person was positive. Okay, so most people that have been testing positive have no symptoms. So you can, again, assume what contributed to the death, but you can't state that as the causal factor, so no extra deaths basically equals no pandemic. And the death certificate situation is being totally, we're being scammed. And the other thing is, who's journalists now? We are, the public, because we know we can't trust anyone in the media. They're showing us footage from movies and saying that it's the current circumstance. They're showing us mannequins. If you zoom in, the people they're showing are mannequins, like CPR dummies. They're showing us scenes from Italy and saying it's New York, and then people are going in person, citizens are going in person, seeing that there's nobody in these hospitals, they're not being overrun. I saw somebody asking an ambulance driver the other day, like, how many people are you seeing with this virus? And he was like, I don't know. And the person with the camera said, I don't know, like 100, like 50, like 2. And he was like 2. So we're really, that begs the question for sure. Why are we really going through this? And I don't think there's one answer, which I think I've stated on my other broadcast. I think there's a couple. There's never like one straight line. I think it's kind of a web, yeah. But, so is it, and I said this before too, 5G related? Because 5G, what they're saying is an acceptable amount is 1,000 microwatts per square meter. These 5G towers that are going up, and I just found out there's one in Hollandale, which is very close to me, by the way, are emitting like 24,000 microwatts per square meter. So clearly it's above what, I don't think any of that is acceptable, but it's above what is determined already as an acceptable limit. So I also want to go back to, since we're talking about this CVCV, I want to go back to a super important component to this. So the testing, right? So we talked about the death certificates and how the statistics are being derived and then it being blown out of proportion. How the media is, the death certificates are helping us being scammed basically and There's no universal definition for what COVID-19 really is. The mortality, is totally being skewed by people that have multiple issues, and then doctors being told just to put, deaths all under this heading. And here's the other thing I didn't know that I was educated on through this, right? That say your relative dies at home and you're there with them, right? And you're the last one to see them when they pass. So the coroner comes and, they take the body and they call you and say, what happened? The answer you give them is what they're putting on the death certificate. Can you believe that? Like, that's what's happening. So there's no real, hard facts that are going into this, I guess, which is my overall point. Okay, so no virus, additionally, we need to hear more, right? Additionally, no virus has actually been identified. So when people are saying that they've been tested for this virus, they're being tested for genetic material. So what they're being tested for really is exogens, right? So all of our cells have an inflammation response. So in this inflammatory response, our body makes, exogens. So there is no test for the exact CV. There's a test for exogens, which we all have. So if you have any kind of flu-like symptoms, a cold, lung cancer, basically all that is being the best word, right, for accuracy. I love accuracy. The best word for accuracy is everything's being redesignated. Crazy. So the test that was developed in China, it was a PCR test. Oh my God, I can't believe I remember this from college. PCR is polymerase chain reaction. Okay, so polymerase chain reaction. So this PCR test tests for the sequence of genetic material, but it has that long list of possibilities for what it could be. Like I said, it's an inflammation response that produces these exogens. Okay, so basically, when our cells have an elevated level of toxicity, oh my gosh, when our cells become toxic because we are poisoned, could be, right? So when they have just excess caca, they become toxic, they release these exosomes. It's a totally natural part of the inflammatory process, totally natural part of our body's response. So, of course they're in lung fluid. It's part of our genetic material. I think it's part of our intercellular fluid, if I'm remembering correctly from my biology days at Cleveland State. Here's the clincher. You know how they show us that picture of the circle with the dots or whatever, and they're like, this is the virus. They're showing us a picture of an exosome. That's what they're showing us a picture of. Okay. So our body would produce them in any time of stress, of toxins. Could it be also toxins and stress could be part of a changed or elevated electromagnetic field, which is, I think, why people are developing the correlation between virus and 5G, which there very well might be a correlation, for sure. So this test is for exosomes, not for CV. They are basically renaming a natural cellular response and calling it CV19. We're being duped. Why? I would say a couple reasons. Control and wealth, just like everything else, right? Okay, so it's my niece's 12th birthday. Happy birthday. She was trying to call to do a little chat. Also, I've got to say hi to Mr. Rue. I told you I would give you a shout out, buddy. Here it is. You're going to have to dance on the show sometime for everybody. Okay, so back to business. So, I mean, the global elite, even though the cabal is being broken down and the corruption is being exposed, you know, who do you think's benefiting? Like, Amazon is probably killing it right now. If you didn't know, two things. Amazon, why I don't shop at Amazon? Amazon, when you downloaded the app onto your phone, they were, unbeknownst to you, taking your facial recognition and selling it. Nice? Because there's any more privacy that could be invaded, right? Secondly, Amazon, these people that stole and sold your facial recognition, bought Whole Foods. So those are two. I think we should vote with our dollar, which will lead me to the dollar is going to lead me to another point momentarily. But I think we should vote with our dollar. I think that's why there's been a lot of changes, you know, with organic and like Cheerios changing how they were making it, because the only way to get people to change their business practices is not to support them and to support the people that are doing good, which is Benefac TOR's premise. Okay. So back to like the 5G and everything. Do you know news stations? I know like BBC and some other news stations. They are not allowed to mention this pandemic and 5G together. So if someone's making sure you're extra censored about something, just like we're censored about vaccines. Don't get me started. I'm sure we'll talk about that another time. Why? Why would someone not? Why can't you voice your, you know, opinion? Why can't you speak about them? Why are there things that are off the table unless there's a huge nervousness on people connecting the dots or being found out? That's pretty crazy to just say a whole subject matter is off the table. Interesting, huh? So it makes me personally want to look there even further. But anyway, so it seems like every time there's a global epidemic, there was a change and a rise in electromagnetic pollution. So with like 3G, 4G, now this 5G, right? There's definitely, again, I don't know if you can say a causal factor, but you can definitely say a correlation, okay? So my example is the Spanish flu, which you think it was originated in Madrid? No. You think it was a flu? No. Holy jeez. Okay, she's relentless little Aries. Okay, so the Spanish flu was not a flu, nor did it originate, I don't know if people know this, nor did it have anything to do with Spain. This was an American situation because soldiers were on military bases were given like an uncontrollable amount of vaccines. Simultaneously, there were high-powered radar installed nearby. So it began on military bases, on American military bases, the Spanish flu. See what I'm saying about the correlation between these epidemics and the electromagnetic pollution? The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the stimulus. So the $1,200 stimulus that could be coming in, you know, wonderful. I think we have a 30% unemployment right now. So what's going to happen? It's going to bring about probably, you know, the e-dollar, because everything's going to be electronically, transferred. People that did their taxes that had it direct deposited, ACH, and everything like that. I think we're going to go towards not having cash. So if we don't have cash, and there's 30% of people unemployed, people are going to now be more dependent. So we're already dependent on the government. We don't have gardens. It's illegal to collect rainwater. They're making us more dependent in so many ways. This is just one last way, really, to a pretty Orwellian society, the book 1984. But so now it's going to be a control tactic, because if you want, your money, you're going to have to, it's like China. China has social credit. I don't know if what we have here is as bad as social credit, but it's darn close. That the banks who got bailed out get to give us, individuals, who may or may not have done right, a score. Unbelievable. Right? They got bailouts because they weren't managing things correctly, and they get to score us. Mind blown, right? So if we get, if with the 30% unemployment, if we're getting little stimuluses, or we go to some type of government where we're given some kind of monthly allowance from the government, right? Like a little stipend or whatever you want to call it. Now we're more dependent on the government. Now, if you want it, you've got to comply. Are you a good citizen? Did you get your vaccinations? Maybe, I know in China, if you have too many infractions, or you're not doing what they perceive you're supposed to do, you can't use public transportation, you can't use the train, you can't even fly. So they take away your rights if you don't follow the rules, to incentivize you to adhere to, the dictatorship. So I know one thing that I thought was going to happen previously, and still may, but this is even bringing it in further with another aspect, with the money, being dependent on the money. Well, did you get vaccinated? We can't renew your driver's license because I don't see that you got your vaccination. We can't renew your passport because you didn't get your vaccination, or because you didn't XYZ, so you can't get your monthly stipend to live. So you're like, okay, I'll go do something else. I mean, awesome. I hope you do. I hope I do. But if there are no jobs, the coolest, best thing that could come out of this is all of us bartering and being entrepreneurs, creating our own jobs with what's in our own hearts and what our innate talents are. I mean, that's the freaking counterbalance. So I also want to say, in the vein of vaccines, which I won't get too lengthy, but they did test the CV19 vaccine. Africa did not want them to. The only nation in Africa that agreed was Senegal. And what happened in Senegal, I'm going to tell you, and it's very sad. The 7 children that they tested the vaccine on all died on the spot. And I'm not sure if you guys know that. And I'm sorry that I have to be the one to deliver that morbid news. But again, the more truth we know, the more we can do things differently, and we're not sitting idly by. So I say a prayer that, I know that they're in a better place and that their soul agreed and that there's a greater plan. But that's what's really, happening. So I just want to tell you, thank you for listening. If you relate to everything I'm saying, or you even want to sift through and agree with some points and disagree with others, wonderful. If I wanted to talk about etymology today, so not entomology about bugs, etymology like words, like the study of words and how powerful they are and where they are used in our language to mean other things and for control tactics and things like that. I think we'll talk about that next time. For some reason, I was really pulled to speak about this today, so I hope it helps people. I genuinely do. And please, please donate and check out everything that I mentioned. Your soul is so much stronger than anything that can happen to it. And we're going to get through this. Don't let everything that's happening separate us, because our biggest strength is sticking together. So all these masks and all this social distancing is separating us. Just keep that in mind. Our biggest strength is sticking together. Just like in a relationship, it's you and your significant other against the problem. It's got to be all of us against the problem, united. So I'll leave you with that. I hope I did everybody's shout outs I was supposed to. So Mr. Rue and birthday girl, I love you. And my niece and nephew. And to my sister, who is probably going nutty with them home from school for 2 months now or something like that. Anyway, you got to see Roman today. Please, if you enjoy this, like, subscribe, share. I'd be so appreciative. And have a great rest of the weekend. I didn't do the cards, so I picked them off camera for the collective consciousness, but here's what I got. So from the medicine cards, we got turkey. So turkey says, brother turkey, how freely you give of everything that you are, so others may truly live. Turkey is actually thought to be the giveaway eagle or south eagle of many native people. The philosophy of giveaway was practiced by many tribes. Simply stated, it's the deep and abiding recognition of sacrifices of both self and others. People in modern day society who have many times more than they need should study the noble turkey who sacrificed itself so that we may live. In the turkey's death, we have our life. Honor turkey. Spectators unfamiliar with the cultural phenomenon of potlatch or giveaway ceremony are often mystified by it. A tribal member may gladly give away all that he or she owns and do without in order to help the people. In present-day urban life, we're taught to acquire and get ahead. The person with the most toys wins the game. In some cultures, no one can win the game unless the whole of the people's needs are met. This sounds like Ubuntu, the principle of Ubuntu. A person who claims more than his or her share is looked upon as selfish or crazy or both. The poor, the aged, and the feeble have honor. The person who gives away the most and carries the burdens of the people is the most respected. Turkey was the medicine of many saints and mystics. Celebrate if you have turkey medicine. Your virtues are many. You have transcended self. You act and react on the behalf of others. You aspire to help those who need help, and this is not out of some sense of self-righteousness or moralism or religious guilt. Help and sustenance are given by turkey out of the realization that all life is sacred, and knowing that Great Spirit resides within all people. It is an acknowledgement that what you do for others, you do for yourself. So turkey medicine rests in enlightenment. Doing unto others and feeding the people is the message of all true spiritual systems. Depending on how turkey is aspected in your cards, you are being given a gift. This gift could be spiritual, material, or even intellectual. The gift may be great or small, but it's never insignificant. Congratulations. So I said 5G, and the camera turned off. Okay. Some animals and birds have ancient souls and will come into your life for a limited time when you are troubled, enriching it, supporting you, and giving you love. If this gift is given to you, accepting their loving assistance with gratitude for the time they are there with you, and when they feel impelled to move on to another needy person, ask Hariel to help you relinquish them for the highest good of all, and more guidance will come to you. Wow. That's tough. So it's like if you help, like I was speaking about, foster a dog and then it gets adopted and you have to let go.